We are a nation blessed with a relatively inexpensive and abundant food supply. USDA economists say that the percent of annual income spent per household on food is just a little over 11% in the United States. Other countries like China, Ukraine, and many African countries spend from 20 to 50% of their income on food. In the U.S., we rely on small, medium, and large-scale family farms for the bulk of our food. How are we as a society going to ensure that we have a stable food supply well into the future? One important tool that will help us achieve that goal is the U.S. Farm Bill. Title II of that bill, or the conservation title, offers several programs that use a voluntary incentive-based approach to natural resource conservation. Using financial incentives, Utah agricultural producers can work with the Natural Resources Conservation Service and their conservation partners to help plan and implement one or more conservation practices or activities that will address natural resource concerns on their farm or ranch. The wise and prudent use of our natural resources through your own conservation efforts will help us all maintain the long-term stability of our nation's food supply. The Conservation Stewardship Program, or CSP, is one of those programs that has been around through several farm bills. CSP has assisted thousands of ag producers on millions of acres across the nation to expand and demonstrate their conservation commitment. So, why are Utah farmers and ranchers making the Conservation Stewardship Program part of their conservation commitment? Let's hear from a few Utah producers who have done just that.
I think CSP pretty much wraps it up. Conservation, stewardship. I think we all consider ourselves stewards of the land. You talked about a rancher and just barely we talked about the next 50 years. Well, I hope my kids have an opportunity to come out here and make a living on this just as I have. And to do so, I think we have to be good stewards. We have to continue on with these good practices to ensure that we have the grass, the soil, everything's intact here, that we keep our sites at ESD, and that will enable them to continue on with a profitable ranch.
I think our success would be measured by, our labor on the operation being decreased so that we have more time for family, more time to recreate. I'd like to see our profitability be increased because we're cutting our costs, but ultimately I'd like to see us be good conservationists, to be able to see wildlife on the place, to see water being absorbed into the soil, less runoff. I'd like to see biodiversity, pastures that are just nutrient rich, and just cattle that are performing and have a quality of life out on pasture, not here in a corral, but being cows, and us being able to be caretakers of the land who are just enjoying what we do.
Stewardship and conservation, it just seems like a natural thing that you want to accomplish, whether it's for your operation, whether it's for your community, your family. We've only got so many natural resources, we only have so much soil. To me, the land that's how I make my living, that's my occupation. So the better I can keep the land, the better I can make it for future generations, the better I feel about it.
The Conservation Stewardship Program really helped us to ultimately achieve the goals that we set out originally to do. It was worth the time and effort and paperwork because we were doing something that we knew would benefit our property. It was a good match for us. And I like to be able to think that what I'm seeing now is going to be there to 10 or 20 or 50 years from now. So that's my goal, that my little 9-year-old grandson, when he is my age, he can look and say, "Grandpa, look what we have."
To me, the CSP program, in 3 years that I'm on it right now, I'm really not going to see, I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to see a huge benefit all up front. But I think if I continue that practice over lots of years, the benefits are going to multiply and come at the end. And if we don't do that, we're going to get stagnant, and we're going to be doing the same thing. My kids will be doing the same things that I'm doing right now, but they're going to live in a different generation of time, and that's not going to be acceptable. So to me, that's where the CSP has its perks in my world.
When we started the CSP, we actually sat down with an NRCS plan and went through the programs. There's several hundred different options you can choose. We kind of looked what worked in our area and what our concerns were when we started, and found a program that fit for us. It was the minimum till we did, and the pest management and nutrient management. It's really hard to measure success with some of these programs. It takes several years with the challenges of the weather and things, but when you look over the scope what we've done for the last 16 years and see where the soil's at today with the adverse conditions we've had, that we're improving the soil, and I'm hoping to leave it better than I found it and able to pass it on to my generation, and hopefully they have the same opportunity and can keep following these same programs and guidelines and help us keep going in the future.
It's not hard to make the case for why the Conservation Stewardship Program should be a part of your conservation legacy. We owe it to our children to have a stable and secure food supply well into their future. Give serious consideration to your land stewardship responsibility and visit an NRCS office to begin the process of enrolling in CSP.